Greetings everybody, this is Marcus Toole and it is June 21st, 2018, and I am in my home orchard and my phone is pointed in the direction of the southern Bartlett pear tree. As you can tell, it's so full of pears that some of the limbs are on the ground. Probably need to prop some of these up later today. A number of the pear trees are loaded. Here's the Tennessee pear has a fair number on it, and they even look like they might be a little bigger this year than they have been being. I'm having a conversation on one of the various plant forum groups that I am a member of online, and the conversation we're in is does the age of the fruit tree affect fruit size? And I'm convinced it does. I mean, in terms of once a tree is a tree that's just beginning to produce will tend to produce smaller fruit than it does once it's very mature. That rule seems to apply with chickens and eggs as well. Anyway, I'm actually taking the day off. This is June 21st, first day of summer, and actually today has been mostly doing large yard chores. One yard chore that does need to be done today is mowing. I haven't tackled that yet, but that's the next thing after this video. What I have been doing is summer pruning some of my fruit trees, in particular the plums. I've been cleaning out with the bigger plum trees, cleaning out some of the growth, excess growth at the bottom of the plum trees. I did a lot, especially on Robusto. I cut out a major low limb and then top some of the other limbs just to give the tree a little bit of extra vigor for a little bit of a summer growth spurt. Now generally you summer prune trees because the tree actually responds less vigorously than it would if you spring prune or winter prune the following spring. But you do get, around summer solstice, you will get some growth in response to a summer pruning, but not a huge amount of growth, which is exactly what I want for the Robusto. For the other two plum trees, I'm mostly just cleaning out from under them to make them more accessible, and so that next year I have less fruit laying on the ground if I get another bumper crop. The Toole's Heirloom is just about finished ripening its crop. It had a great crop this year. In fact, I'm not doing any more big harvests. Mostly I'm picking plums as they become soft ripe, just for personal fresh eating, which is when they're the best anyway, just right off the tree. And you know, birds are helping themselves as well. So, but I've probably gotten over 80 pounds of plums off this tree. So it's above and beyond its call of duty. But I did clean out under it. One of the reasons to clean out under it so I can better see the suckers, because when I do mow in a few minutes, I don't want to mow the suckers down. I want to be able to mow around them. And that's kind of how this project started. Even though summer solstice is the perfect time to prune plum trees, that's really when you kind of ought to do it, especially if you're doing this kind of pruning where I don't want the tree to respond by putting a bunch of vigorous growth right where I'm pruning stuff off, because the whole idea is to clean around the lower parts of the tree this time. I had a debate with myself whether to summer prune this Baldwin pear tree or to put weights in it to spread the limbs out. Here's the issue with this tree. Right now this tree is it's getting large, and I'm glad for the growth spurt, because it wasn't growing real fast before, but it's growing large and skinny, and tall and skinny, and that's not really what you want. Had it produced a big crop of pears, it did produce few this year, the pears would have spread the trees. The weight of the pears would have spread the trees. But it did not produce a big crop this year, and who knows how many years it's going to take for it to produce a crop. This tree is in its 5th year, And it might be 2 more years. It might be like Tennessee in that it needs to be 7 years old to really produce. In which case, if I don't do something to correct this growth habit, it's going to be kind of permanent. And I don't want that because most of the pears will be too high up in the sky for me to pick them. So the question is, do I top prune it or do I put weights in the tree? Now, top pruning would result in a smaller tree. It would bush it out if I, if summer top pruning. And that has its benefits. It may not, it probably would not speed up the day when I actually get a big crop of pears on it. In fact, it might actually delay it. What would be more effective at getting a crop next year would be to put weights in the tree and to spread the limbs out. The problem with putting weights in the tree is that the time of the year to do that is basically now, which is hurricane season. And the last time I put weights in a big tree like this, I was out here the very next week pulling them off because of a hurricane coming. And then I put the weights back in the trees, and then the very next week I was pulling them off again because a second hurricane was coming, and we had 4 hurricanes that summer. Or threats of hurricanes that summer. The other issue is that the picture window to my house is right there. And so if you do have a freak windstorm or hurricane or just a thunderstorm with lots of wind in it, and you have a piece of concrete weighting down a limb on this tree, a big pane of glass, big expensive pane of glass is right there. And so that's another concern. But putting weights in the trees is the best way of guaranteeing a good fruit crop next year, or at least making it more likely that I'll get a big fruit crop next year. I'll try it once, but if I tell you, if I put weights in this tree and a week later we're having a hurricane, I probably won't be putting those weights in after that hurricane. I'll probably just summer prune and make the tree smaller. But I think I'm going to do the weights. I'm not going to do that today. I'll do it tomorrow. Today is mowing day. So another downside of putting weights into the tree is that the Munson plum tree is just right there. And so if I spread this tree out, and it and Munson are going to interfere with each other, they're really too close together. But I'm having to stick trees in where I stick them in as I'm adding things in, and I think it'll be okay. I'll spread the limbs on the pear tree and then probably prune them next year is probably what I'll do. But anyway, but this year they get spreaded. This is how the yard looks. It kind of looks overgrown at the moment. We had a wonderful rain yesterday. Look at this pear tree. This is the Golden Boy pear tree. It's full of... Now see, this tree I spread that year. This is the tree that I was pulling pieces of concrete block out of. But it did spread beautifully. And of course the fruit is doing a better job of spreading the tree than anything I could do with bricks. And fruit are softer when they get thrown around by a storm. But anyway, and I wish that other tree had had a big fruit crop too. It would save me some work. Well, with spreading the tree, it would create a lot of work in terms of processing the fruit. The figs are doing great this year. They're continuing to grow, and they have a big bumper crop coming on all the figs. I'm really pleased with the fig crop this year. I actually have, I think I counted 12 of them. Lemons that are developing on my lemon frost lemon tree. So I'm excited to get a little bit more on this tree. There's a few oranges on the Arctic frost orange. I need to summer prune the muscadines too. I doubt that will happen today, maybe tomorrow. Anyway, because the mowing is going to be an all afternoon project. Anyway, I better get to the mowing, speaking of which, and I'll talk to y'all later. God bless. Bye.